I strongly support Senator George Voinovich's call for a bipartisan budget commission to put all our spending programs on the table and come up with a solution to rein in out-of-control spending that threatens to bankrupt our nation over the decades to come. Senator Voinovich and I have been friends a long time, but we've disagreed on a lot of things. But he deserves credit for having been a champion of deficit reduction throughout his career. And he deserves credit for continuing to push this vital issue while even his fellow senators had little interest in listening. A bipartisan budget commission combined with earmark reforms that minimize the wasteful pork barrel spending that both parties abuse is vital to long-term economic growth. But there's something else in the way right now that we must not forget that is in the way of stabilizing our communities. And if there's any city in America that understands it, it's us. Foreclosures, people losing their home. Although Ohio has received neighborhood stabilization funds, I was very disappointed that Ohio did not receive any of the recent federal funds that were distributed to fight foreclosure. That's wrong. Why? Because Ohio is one of only 9 states in the country with more than 100,000 homes currently being repossessed, and many of you saw the New York Times article that showed that ground zero is Slavic Village right here in Cleveland. 16% of all Ohio mortgage holders are in foreclosure or near foreclosure. Half of all home sales in Cleveland last year were sheriff's auctions. And yet banks too often have been reluctant to modify mortgages, which is why I believe we need to give bankruptcy judges the power to modify mortgage payments and lower the principal to match a home's reduced value. Without these efforts, hundreds of thousands more Americans will lose their homes. Wall Street's packaging and selling of mortgages fueled the foreclosure epidemic and caused this crisis. And we must say, never again. I had a law school professor who once told me it's better to have a fence at the top of the cliff than to have an ambulance below. But we spend an awful lot of money on the ambulance below. So let's spend some money with the fence at the top of the cliff. Let's take immediate steps to ensure that an economic catastrophe like this never happens again, that the days of Wall Street's free ride are over, the days of accountability and transparency begin. We must reinstate the rules that prevent banks from becoming too big to fail. That means separating the risky investment banking and trading activities from the commercial activities of traditional banks that take deposits and offer loans. And it means that we need a new, robust financial watchdog agency with the power to enforce the laws already in the books and to investigate overdraft fees charged by some banks without the consent of their customers, soaring credit card interest rates, and yes, predatory mortgages. To fix this national crisis, in a sense, we have 2 choices. We can choose the past, or we can choose the future. We can go back to the same Washington policies, the same Washington people and insiders who brought us to the brink of the greatest financial disaster since the Great Depression. Or we can choose the future. I don't want to return to the days of lax trade laws and regulations that put Americans' jobs and homes at risk. I certainly don't want to return to the days of government by and for the Washington lobbyists and the special interests. And I think you choose the future. We need to come together as one people. We need to reinvent ourselves, and we need to lift up and build the middle class. It's important that we create a safety net for those who feel like they've been shut out of the American dream. It's why foreclosure prevention, unemployment compensation, COBRA extension are all so important. But we should never aspire to be a safety net nation. We should be aspiring to be an economic elevator nation that says that we will help you when you are down, but more importantly, we will help you get up. Not through a handout, but through a hand up so that you have the opportunity even though you may be a little guy, maybe someday to be a big guy. That's what the American dream is all about. It means an opportunity to get a great education, a world-class education that competes not just with other states, but more importantly with other countries. It means getting a job that can't be outsourced, or at least easily outsourced, to another country. And it takes the oxygen for a growing economy. What's that oxygen? It's optimism. It's confidence. It's vision. And yes, it requires transformation. The same people who shape steel to make cars can shape steel to make wind turbines. The same people who program machines to build car parts can program machines to build parts for solar panels. The next Google, the next Microsoft, the next YouTube will be the visionaries who figure out how to harness the sun's rays, build a smarter electrical grid, produce a biofuel that doesn't compete with our food supply. And we can do it. Not only can America do it, but Ohio in particular can do it. We can go from steel to wind turbines. We can go from glass to solar panels. We can go from tires to polymers and nanomaterials and advanced materials that make things lighter and stronger at the exact same time. We can go from gas-guzzling cars to hybrid vehicles and electric plug-in vehicles and to fuel cell-powered vehicles. And the good news, it's not just a dream. It's happening today because we're living within our means and still investing in what matters. Nothing worthwhile comes easy, I know that. But the dreams we hold and the goals that we share are well worth the fight. Like generations of Americans before us, we must and we will rise to the challenge. And like you, I believe in America and in Ohio. So I want to be a new, independent voice in Washington, fighting for the kind of America and Ohio that believes in you, that is from those of us who understand Ohio, who live in Ohio, and who work in Ohio, and simply want to make sure that people get a fair shake on a level playing field and have a chance to achieve the American dream. Thank you.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are listening to a special forum featuring Lee Fisher, Lieutenant Governor of Ohio and candidate for U.S. Senate. Now we would like to return to Lieutenant Governor Fisher for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests, and holding the microphones today are City Club PR and Programs Manager Carrie Miller and Outreach and Membership Manager Deborah Agosti. First question, please.